Hello and welcome to what is this week a second cup edition of Tea for Two. This is my second pot of green tea, tropical tea. I've got the frozen peaches in there. The kettle water has kind of cooled down a little bit, so it's just about drinking temperature, and this second cup I've left the tea bag in. It's, I really enjoy the fact that no cup of tea or pot of tea is the same as the moment goes on. It slowly, each of the flavors in different ways come into play, and as I add additional hot water, there's a variety of ways that it can go. I can add a little bit of limoncello liqueur from Sorrento, where I was in Italy last year, and just that hint of lemon brings a scent into play that's absolutely heavenly and just a slight sweetness. Or I could add a strawberry, and again the pink it brings into the water with the yellow. It can be very nice. There's some cranberry teas that, green tea and cranberry, that I've got at Trader Joe's at times that, again, it's really fun to play with. But again, this is my second cup of green tea tropical. We still have the beautiful bouquet from the little edition on time and pacing. And what I want to talk about now is one of the truths that I mention in the book Unconscious Chemistry. And that truth is that there's a whole collection of kind of fun and eclectic truths that I've brought together into one section of the book. And in this section, in this particular truth, it says that every relationship has a contract that, whether conscious or unconscious, clearly spelled out or explicitly implied, when the rules of that contract are broken, the relationship ends. And I grew up hearing about contracts primarily in a negative sense, psychic contracts. I remember a tape I heard called Psychic Contracts of Pain or Shame, about the way that when we're young we take on things from our parents on condition that they let us survive, that they give us a little bit more attention, that kind of thing. And so the concept of a contract is not new for me. However, one of the things that I like to do is bring kind of politically incorrect and unromantic aspects of relationship clearly into the foreground, because, like it or not, they're present in every relationship. And no, it's not fun to think about the fact that our soulmate and one true love and all of that will dissolve and disappear if we break certain rules or cross certain boundaries that are there in this hidden or unspoken contract. But that doesn't change the fact that it's so, and it's one of the reasons that I have a hard time with the concept from a human perspective of unconditional love. I once applied to join a group, and one of the questions that I think disqualified me was, they said, how did I feel about unconditional love? And I said, I don't really observe it in human beings. I have yet to meet the person where, if you're raping their mother or beating their child, that is going to not have their love shift at all around that, or their access to it, etc. And if so, that's a condition. That's a condition. I'm loving you on condition that you treat me decently, that you don't steal from me, that you don't, whatever it is, people do have conditions. And once that is let in and made real, that there are none of us that do not have boundaries and our own personal sense of what's right and what's wrong, and that we use this to filter what's good for us to connect with at this time, we can start to take that into more nuances, where maybe if this or that boundary is crossed, you don't lose the relationship altogether, but it's not going to be happy times if you cross this or forget this detail, etc. And I find this truth a valuable thing because once it's owned, on the first glance it's like, oh, that's not my idea of ideal romantic love, but once it's owned, that there is a contract and it is operational and the relationship will go bankrupt if it is violated, the contract can become more conscious. Now, some of the terms in the contract that we have with one another are beautiful, carefully thought out clauses. A contract is a wonderful thing. I've put a lot of effort in my landscape business, which is my main line of work, to creating a contract that is so clear that it's very hard to have any misunderstanding about anything. And then secondly, that if for some reason there is a misunderstanding, that there's a clear path to resolve it. I am a big believer in third-party sanity, and so in my contract, rather than going to court, etc., I have in there that if there's a dispute, a neutral third party at the Better Business Bureau will resolve the contract. And so by spelling things out, what I've noticed is not that relationships go downhill, but that they become more peaceful, more clear, there's less projection, and there's more of a sense of understanding and really seeing what about this relationship is a win for you? What does ideal love look like for you? What does being a good friend mean to you in this time? And what I would like to invite is that we consider getting to know ourselves enough to be honest about what our boundaries and laws really are. What would a friend have to do to end a relationship? Would it, does the contract in fact read that if you shock me, and if you have a sexual experience without telling me first, and if you enjoyed it more than you enjoyed the sexual experience with me, I will never speak to you again? Is that what the contract reads? Because if that's what you will do, that is the contract, whether it was spelled out or not. Does it read, if you will give me your undivided attention, if you will genuinely show interest in my day, if you will slowly put your hand on my back when I'm looking sad and not criticize me in any way, I will grow in loyalty and love for you, and no amount of looks and no amount of lust from anyone else will ever tempt me away. If that's what you'll do, that's the contract that you are putting forth. And I love this dance, the fact that we are this timeless spiritual beings that are just showing up for a moment of time in these bodies, and that they're out there's this boundlessness, etc. But in here, we each have 24 hours a day. We each have autonomy to decide what choices we want to make within the limitations and logistics of our lives. And within those time frames, there's a contract. And I'm reminded of logistics in this moment as my serene mp4 music has switched into my Pink Floyd, simply because of timing. You know, I got an interrupted phone call as I began this, and had to start the video over again, and didn't have the presence of mind to switch the iPod back. And so a whole new energy is coming in, and it's fun and it's interesting, but it's different. And to me, that highlights the duality of time, the preciousness of time, that there's only one moment, one chance to do this moment. And the next one, even if it's redone, it'll be different. Better, worse, relative to your sense of what's important to you, but different. I've enjoyed this Tea for Two. Thank you for joining me. One of my ideals is that people put the kind of care into creating a moment together that many connoisseurs in the tea department put into making a glass of tea or a fine wine. So I think when we start to treat our moments as art and treat one another as art, we become precious. It brings in the awareness, and in my eyes, good things happen. Until next time, blessings on your life.